Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today, we're continuing our examination of book 8, turning to chapter 2, which continues. Now, it's going to be a short one because this is not the longest chapter. So let's continue here. Um, Perhaps what concerns these matters would become apparent if what is lovable. Now, here is what elicits friendly feelings, to philetos. The adjective is here used subjectively, derived from the word friend or dear one, philos. We always translate the verb philin, to love, or to be loved in the passive voice, while noting Aristotle's use of the other verbs more closely with love, eron, to love, the eros, right, in the erotic sense, to love in the erotic sense, sturgeon, to feel affection for, and agapide is to be fond of. So this is interesting that even Aristotle has this different variety: philos, eros, sturgeon, agape, right? These four characteristics of love. Again, I'm you know check out C.S. Lewis's The Four Loves, right, where he gives the classic account of these four loves. And they're going to do this, but they're going to always do friend as love in that sense. So that is to have desire, I think, is the Iran, and feel affection for, and to be fond of, right? And I would even have problem fond of agape is care more. Okay, but that's a whole issue. Okay, it should become known. So be comparing if what is lovable, that is what is a feeling, what elicits friendly feelings, philetos. What apparent if what is lovable, what elicits friendly feelings should become known. For not everything seems to be loved, but only what is lovable. And this seems to be what is good, pleasant, or useful. So therefore, this is the double fold. What is agathos, what is good, and it means also pleasant and useful. Okay, use is beneficial, right? We can say beneficial, good. So pleasant, good. These are the three things. So therefore, well, not everything seems to be love. But the love, what we love is the good, agathos. What is agathos? Pleasant and useful. Okay, but what is useful would seem to be that through which something becomes good or pleasant arises, which the result of what is good as well as what is pleasant would be lovable as ends. So that's the useful is, in other words, the useful things are usually things that deliver something, that produce something, that what is, in other words, which some good thing, good or pleasant, arises. The useful would be something that produces something that is either good or pleasant, right? And as the result of what is good as well as what is pleasant would be lovable as ends in that sense. Now, is it the good then? Is it the good then what people love, or is it the good for themselves? Okay. In other words, is the good? In other words, this is the big question here. Is it the useful seems to point to the good and the pleasant. So, but then the question of what does the good mean? Is it, do people care about the good? Is the good then what people love? Is it the good that they love, or is it the good for them? Right, the good for themselves. For sometimes there's conflict. Right, what is good and what is good for me? Sometimes conflict. Right, what is simply good versus what is good for me? What is good in the general sense? This is the idea that the universal or the general sense, the idea, the perfect sense, the general sense of what is good may not, and the particular good may not be They might be in conflict, right? The good for me versus the good simply, right? He goes, for sometimes these conflict as the case is also with the pleasant, right? What is pleasant simply versus what is pleasant for me? These are both conflict. So what is good and what is pleasant both have a problem between what is good for me, what is present, what is good for me, and what is good simply, what is pleasant simply, and what is pleasant for me may be conflict here. For it seems that each person loves what is good for himself, and that, while in an unqualified sense, the good is what is lovable. What is lovable to each is what is good for each. So, therefore, this is interesting. What For it seems that each person loves what is good for himself, and that while in the unqualified sense, the good is what is lovable, right? But what is lovable to each is what is good for each. Yet each, in fact, does not loves each in fact loves not what is good for him, but what appears so. Okay, so in other words, in fact, that yes, in general this is rule, but let's add another problem: the what appears to be versus what is. In other words, in fact, each it's not that everyone loves what's good for him, but what they think or appears what appears to them to be good for them, right? Appears so. Yet this will make no difference at all, since it will be what appears lovable, that each will in fact regard as good and so love, right? That's the whole point. This is, in other words, in other words, the logic still work. The logic that one pursues the lovable. Now the question is, yes, they may be wrong, but the motivation is still the same here. In other words, they may be wrong that this is not really the good, what should be loved, but they're acting as though it is because they believe it to be. It appears lovable in that sense, right? So this is why it won't make any difference in that sense. Now, next paragraph here in chapter 2. While there are three things on account of which people's love, right? This is that three things that kind of people love. Friendship is not spoken of when it comes to loving imaginative objects, since in that case there is no reciprocal. In other words, since in that case there is no reciprocal love or wish for the good of the intimate thing, it is perhaps laughable to wish for good things, for wine. But if anything, one wishes that it be preserved so that one may have it. Right. In other words, he gives the example of wine. He wishes that. Well, it's kind of silly to wish good for things. I would wish that it preserves itself so I can enjoy it. Right. So that's the kind of a pun he makes there for it. That in other words, reciprocation is revolved here, that this kind of love is a reciprocal. Friendship is a reciprocal love in that sense. That while there are three things on account of which people love, right? We had that. What is the three things? The good, the pleasant, and the useful, right? But the three things on account of people love. But friendship is not spoken of when it comes to inanimate objects. So you can love animate or inanimate, right? It's not. You can love. You can love in one sense something that is good, a thing that is beneficial, useful, good, pleasant, and useful a thing, or person, right? An animate or inanimate thing in that sense. That it could be that is one kind, but you don't have reciprocation with an inanimate thing. You don't have reciprocation, and though you wish for something to be good, that sense, the good you wishing it that it preserves itself, right? This is not friendship. You don't have love in that sense. It is. He says, um, while friendship is not spoken of when it comes to loving inanimate things, in that sense, inanimate objects. And it's no reciprocation. Yet people speak of those who do wish for the good things in a way as having goodwill. If the other person involved does not return the same wish, for they say goodwill in those who reciprocated is friendship. So people who, in other words, we know this. We sometimes treat inanimate objects as though they have intentionality, and then we treat the computer who just fights with us as though it's, oh my God, it's bad will in this sense, right? Or something that's not working right. We think, oh my God, it's not. We tend to humanize or animate we attribute to the inanimate things that human inanimate in that sense, right? Behaviors, but this is not correct in that sense, right? But he says what? Um, so let's continue here. We talked about this, right? It would be reserved, but people assert that a friend ought to wish for good things for his friend, and for the friend's sake. So, therefore, I skipped that line, but let's think about that, right? Therefore, that even though it's a thing we can't wish good, it's kind of I don't wish it well. I wish it preserved. I mean, there's no to love it doesn't never wish it well. It's I love it. I want it. Right. I desire it. It's not that I wish it well in that sense. Except in the example he said that wine, we wish it well that it doesn't get spoiled because I would enjoy it. Right. We don't want it to spoil or ruin. It ought to be preserved. Right. We want it to be preserved, but not for it to be better in that sense. Right. But yet he says, but people assert that a friend ought to wish for good things for his friend and for the friend's sake, right? Yet people speak of those who do wish for the good things in this way as having goodwill. If the other person involved does not return that same wish, for they say that goodwill in those who reciprocated is friendship. So this is that idea, goodwill. What is you wish other people better. You have goodwill towards them. It doesn't have to be goodwill does not necessarily reciprocate it, but friendship is reciprocation of goodwill. Okay, so it's reciprocation. This is why it's difficult to have inanimate objects. Inanimate objects cannot reciprocate. It's how to have no friendship with an inanimate. See, the difference between loving and friendship is friendship requires reciprocation. And the person who loves someone else or seeks to give goodwill, in other words, wish well, wish benefit towards, or wish good, the other good. We call this goodwill, right? This is how we translate this one. But for friendship is reciprocation. Or perhaps we must set down or perhaps we must set down in addition goodwill that goes unnoticed. For many people have goodwill for many people have goodwill towards those they have not seen, but whom they assume to be decent and useful. And one of the latter might feel this same thing towards the former. So, in other words, here's another problem. We have goodwill, but we also have goodwill to people we don't know. There's the goodwill of people we know versus a goodwill towards others that we don't necessarily see, or in a sense to others that we don't necessarily see or know, but we know that they exist someplace, right? So he says, in addition to the goodwill that it goes a goodwill that goes unnoticed. For many people have goodwill towards those whom they have not seen, but they assume to be decent or useful. Okay, decent or useful. And one of the latter might feel this same thing to others, and therefore you get it. This is a kind of reciprocal goodwill. The reciprocation of goodwill is not friendship. It's reciprocated goodwill, but it's not specified. Friendship seems to specify towards an individual. These people then appear to have goodwill towards each other, right? But how could one say that they're friends when they are unaware that they have that they each have this feeling towards the other, right? In other words, so therefore, it's they're not this I having goodwill to people in general, and these people having the people I'm having goodwill to other people in general doesn't produce friendship. It's not. He goes. It's not specifically reciprocating. He continues this, right? Friends must therefore have goodwill towards each other and not go unnoticed in their wishing for the good things for on the other. In other words, it's not something that goes unnoticed, unaware. It's you know that they have goodwill towards you in their wishing for the good things for the other, on account of someone on account of someone of the lovable things mentioned, right? On account of one of the three lovable things, right? Of the good, the pleasant, or the useful, right? So let's stop here. You have any comments or questions, please put them below, and when I see them, I'll respond to them. If you like the video, hit the like button. Hit the like button, please. It helps the algorithm. Today, I'm not going to have the error I had in the previous video. So hit the like button, please. And if you've not, share it on social media. If you liked it, share it on social media. Share it on your share this video far and wide. Share it to your friends. Again, the more you share, the better the algorithm gets attention to the video, gets more people eyes on the prize, right? They say. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps grow the channel to some. Another thing you do is if you didn't like it, you can always say, I don't like it, thumb it down, but say why in the comments. This way people can benefit from it. We can benefit from what's going on here. Also, if you want to follow me on social media, my social media links are below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar and as a researcher, check out my research and other things, you can go to my academic social media below, my social media links. Another thing you can do is if you want to help me to do what I do financially, in that sense, you want to contribute to help me to do this in a certain way, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. The URLs are below. Another thing you can do is you can, if you want to help another way, you can also buy one of my books. Below are the list of my currently available books. You can do so through your local bookstore, but also you can do so through online booksellers like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the like, or you can order it through the publisher directly in that sense. Well, that's it. I hope we're all well and hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye. See you later.